Imagine walking into a bank to cash a check, only to be humiliated by a racist manager who calls the cops on you. Marcus Bennett faced this nightmare, but he fought back, and the next day, karma struck hard. Watch his epic revenge unfold. A prejudiced bank manager notices a black man entering a bank and immediately suspects he's there for trouble. He summons security to intervene. Yet, the manager faces consequences when he sees the same black man return the following day. The glass doors of Pacific Trust Bank parted as Marcus Bennett stepped inside. The air-conditioned interior offered respite from Seattle's blistering summer heat outside. Clad in a pristine white shirt and fitted navy slacks, Marcus moved with understated assurance. His trimmed beard, steady gaze, and composed demeanor exuded professionalism. He walked to the counter, where Sofia Martinez, a young Latina teller, welcomed him with a smile. "Good afternoon, sir," she greeted. "How may I assist you today?" Her hands hovered over the keyboard, poised to assist. Marcus retrieved a check from his jacket pocket, a stiff, impressive document, promising a hefty sum. He slid it across the counter with a nod. "I'd like to deposit this," he said. Sophia glanced at the check, her eyebrows arched slightly in surprise. "That's a sizable amount," she remarked, her voice warm yet professional. She started entering the details, her fingers dancing over the keys as her eyes flicked to the screen. Marcus observed her calmly. He didn't boast about his achievements, but this check symbolized months of tireless effort on a design project that had finally succeeded. A slight smile played on his lips. All appeared well until a figure loomed over the counter. "Pardon me, Sophia. I'll handle this," a voice declared with authority. Marcus glanced over to see a tall white man approaching, dressed in an ostentatious suit. His name tag identified him as Richard Harper, manager. The room's mood shifted, tinged with subtle tension. Richard edged in front of Sophia, nudging her aside with a smooth motion. Sophia paused, her hands lingering on the keyboard. "I'm nearly done with it, Mr. Harper," she said. "I said I'll take over," Richard interjected, his tone polite but firm. He cast her a glance that stifled further objection. Sophia retreated reluctantly, offering Marcus a brief, regretful look before stepping back. Marcus's smile faded. The manager's abrupt involvement felt unsettling. He stood straighter, eyeing Richard warily as he picked up the check. Richard scrutinized it with exaggerated care. "This is a substantial amount," he noted, his gaze flicking up to Marcus's. "You don't come across checks like these often?" Marcus's brow creased. "It's a valid check," he stated. "I worked for it." "I'm certain you did," Richard replied, his voice smooth but hinting at skepticism. He set the check down and crossed his arms, leaning in slightly. "But surely you see why such a sum raises questions." Marcus gripped the counter's edge tighter. "What sort of questions?" he asked. Richard tilted his head, his smile faint and forced. "Just standard ones. Where's this check from? What work justifies such payment?" he inquired. "I'm a graphic designer," Marcus answered, keeping his tone even. "It's compensation for a project I finished." Richard remained still, studying Marcus as if doubting his claim. His smile lingered, more a facade than sincere. "I understand," he said. "And the company behind this check, do you provide proof of its authenticity?" Marcus felt a chill despite the cool air. "Proof?" he echoed. "The check itself is proof. The bank can confirm it." Richard's eyes narrowed subtly. "Naturally," he said. "But we've dealt with dubious checks before. Ensuring everything's proper is essential." Richard's words carried a sting, suggesting Marcus didn't belong, that he couldn't have rightfully earned this sum. Marcus took a deep breath to steady himself. "I'm not sure what you're implying, but I'm here to deposit a check, nothing more," he said. Richard's smile vanished. A colder edge surfaced in his expression. "I'm implying nothing, sir. I'm ensuring all is in order," he replied. Marcus sensed the gaze of other customers now. The tension thickened, almost tangible. His pulse quickened, yet he kept his composure. He'd faced such situations before and wouldn't let Richard provoke him here. "Verify it then," Marcus insisted firmly. "I'm staying until you do." Richard's eyebrow arched, irritation flickering in his eyes. "Sir, I advise you to lower your voice," he said. Marcus opened his mouth to retort, but Richard seized the check, stepping back. "We'll need to examine this further," Richard declared, his tone stripped of warmth. He motioned toward the bank's rear. "Wait here a moment. I'll return shortly." Marcus disliked the direction this was taking. He glanced at the entrance, where 2 security guards stood alert, their eyes fixed on him. His heart thudded, frustration mounting. He knew this wasn't about the check at all. As Richard vanished with the check, Marcus leaned on the counter, breathing slowly to calm himself. This ordeal was far from over. Marcus watched Richard slip into the bank's back office, check in hand. The atmosphere felt heavy, laden with unspoken accusations. His fingers tapped the counter lightly. He glanced at Sophia, who stood nearby, visibly uneasy. Sophia met his eyes, offering a sympathetic look. She spoke softly. "I'm truly sorry about this," she said. "You've banked here before, and I've never seen issues with your transactions." Marcus appreciated her effort to ease the situation, but it didn't soothe him. He nodded faintly, staying silent. His gaze shifted to the security guards again. One, a burly man, eyed him, murmuring into his walkie-talkie. A knot tightened in Marcus's stomach. Minutes dragged on. The hum of other customers' voices seemed distant, irrelevant to his growing unease. Each passing second felt like a calculated stall, a choice to doubt not just the check, but Marcus himself. The notion that his presence alone sparked suspicion gnawed at him. Just as Marcus considered confronting the counter again, Richard reappeared. His expression had hardened, devoid of any pretense of courtesy. He placed the check down but kept his hand over it, as if shielding it. His eyes locked onto Marcus's with cold authority. "I'll handle this myself," Richard announced, his voice laced with condescension. "Something about this check doesn't feel right." Marcus blinked, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. He leaned forward slightly, his voice low but sharp. "What exactly feels wrong about it?" he asked. Richard's face remained impassive. "I think you understand my meaning," he said, his tone pointed yet veiled. Marcus's jaw clenched. "No, I don't," he replied. "Why don't you explain?" Richard exhaled slowly, his lips curling into a faint, insincere smile. "Let's not play games, Mr. Bennett," he said. "A check this large requires scrutiny." "What kind of scrutiny?" Marcus pressed, his voice now edged with defiance. His fists tightened at his sides, though he kept them controlled. Richard lifted his hand from the check, but crossed his arms instead of returning it. "It's rare for someone like you to present such a sum," he stated. "We must ensure it's not fraudulent." Marcus stared, heart racing, breath shallow. The phrase, "someone like you," struck like a blow. He knew precisely what Richard implied. He'd heard such coded language before. "Are you accusing me of fraud?" Marcus asked, his voice steady but seething. "I'm accusing no one," Richard replied smoothly, though his smirk betrayed his words. "We're just cautious with large amounts. It's protocol, you see." Marcus scoffed. "I've banked here for years," he said. "Check my records. I've had no issues." Richard shrugged. "Rules evolve. So do protocols. This check doesn't add up," he said. Marcus stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "What doesn't add up is you treating me like a crook for depositing my earnings," he said. The air grew colder as the 2 men faced off. The tension drew eyes from customers and staff alike. Sophia shifted uncomfortably behind the counter, unsure how to intervene. Richard straightened, his smile gone. "Calm down, Mr. Bennett," he said. "No need for hostility." "I'm not hostile," Marcus retorted, his voice rising slightly. "I'm trying to understand why you're accusing me of something I didn't do." "I'm not accusing you," Richard repeated, his tone suggesting otherwise. "But without verification, we may need to involve the authorities." Marcus's heart pounded. His frustration neared breaking point. He felt the guard's stares, Richard's judgmental gaze. It was a familiar pattern, suspicion rooted in his skin color. "I don't need to verify anything," Marcus said coldly. "The check's real. Call the company yourself." Richard's eyebrow lifted, unimpressed. "That's not our process," he said. "We'll hold the check for review." Marcus's fists clenched. He fought to stay calm. "You're not holding anything," he said. "Deposit it now." Richard's eyes darkened. "Sir, keep this up, and I'll have security escort you out," he warned. Marcus glared back, anger barely contained. "I'm not leaving until my check is deposited," he said. Silence hung heavy. Neither man budged. Then Richard stepped back, raising a hand toward the guards. "Security," he called, his voice calm but commanding. Marcus turned as the guards approached, their faces blank. His heart raced, but he stood firm. "You have one chance to leave quietly," Richard said, his voice low, "or these men will remove you." Marcus breathed deeply, hands trembling with rage. This wasn't just about the check. It was about proving his worth in a world that doubted him. "I'm staying," Marcus said resolutely. "Do your job." Richard's eyes flashed with anger. He nodded to the guards. "Escort him out," he ordered. Before Marcus could react, the guards seized his arms, dragging him toward the exit. His chest heaved as he resisted their grip. Richard watched from the entrance, a cold smirk on his face, as Marcus was shoved onto the sidewalk. The doors slammed shut. Marcus's breath came in sharp bursts. Seattle's heat prickled his skin. He adjusted his shirt, pacing in fury, processing the ordeal. Passers-by glanced curiously, but he ignored them. His mind churned with outrage and disbelief. How had depositing a check spiraled into this? Through the bank's glass windows, Marcus saw Richard near the entrance, his smug expression infuriating. Marcus wanted to barge back in, demand his check be processed, but the guards would pounce instantly. Instead, he stood firm outside, breathing deeply to regain control. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it. A work message, trivial against his current storm. Looking up, Marcus caught Sophia's gaze inside the bank. She looked distressed, apologetic. She knew this was wrong, but her power was limited against Richard. Before Marcus could act, the bank door swung open. Richard stepped out, shoes clicking on the pavement. He adjusted his jacket, exuding ownership of the space. "Still here, Mr. Bennett?" Richard taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. "We were clear inside. Your check's on hold until verified. Come back later, but this scene changes nothing." Marcus clenched his jaw, forcing calm. "This isn't about the check, and you know it," he said. Richard raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence. "Oh? Then what's it about?" he asked. "You saw a black man with a big check and decided it couldn't be legit," Marcus said, his voice low but fierce. "That's the issue." Richard's face hardened. "Mind your tone, Mr. Bennett," he said. "I won't tolerate baseless accusations." "There's no basis for what you're doing to me," Marcus countered. "I came to deposit a check, and I'm treated like a criminal." "You're treated per policy," Richard said smoothly. "We verify large sums. You should understand that." "Me?" Marcus repeated, voice rising. "You mean black people, right? That's what you're saying." Richard's eyes narrowed, but he kept his cool. "You're making this about race, sir, but it's not," he said. "I'm following rules." "Rules you ignore for others with bigger checks," Marcus shot back. "I've seen it here." Richard stepped closer, eyes cold. "Leave now, or this worsens," he said. "You're disturbing the peace, and I'll call the police." The threat of police chilled Marcus, but fueled his resolve. He wouldn't back down. "I'm not going anywhere," he said firmly. "Call whoever you want. I won't let you treat me this way." Richard smirked, stepping back. "Fine," he said. "Your choice." Marcus's heart raced as Richard dialed his phone deliberately. He heard the faint ring, then Richard's voice. "This is Richard Harper at Pacific Trust Bank," he said. "There's a man here refusing to leave after causing trouble. Please send an officer." Marcus's body tensed. Richard's satisfied glance felt like a challenge. He'd been waiting to put Marcus in his place. Richard pocketed his phone. "You've made your point, Mr. Bennett," he said. "The police will handle it." Marcus shook his head, disbelief surging. "This isn't over," he said. "You'll regret this." Richard chuckled, smugly. "We'll see," he replied. Marcus paced, thoughts racing. Inside, customers whispered, some concerned, others curious. No one stepped in. The world felt suffocating, cornering him. Sirens sounded in the distance. Marcus's stomach knotted, but he held his head high. He wouldn't let Richard strip his dignity. The sirens grew louder, then stopped abruptly as a police car pulled up. Marcus froze, heart pounding. Two officers stepped out, one tall and broad, the other shorter, with a weary expression. They approached slowly, eyes on Marcus, as if he were already guilty. Richard stood aside, arms crossed, smirking. He waved at the officers, pointing to Marcus. "Officers," he began smoothly. "This man caused a disturbance inside and won't leave despite our requests. Please handle it." The taller officer, James Larson, eyed Marcus coldly. "Is that true?" he asked, voice flat. Marcus's anger flared, his words sharp. "No, it's not," he said. "I tried to deposit a check, and he accused me of fraud for no reason." Larson glanced at Richard, who shrugged. "He's lying," Richard said calmly. "He didn't comply with our protocols." Marcus's fists tightened. "The check's real," he said. "Call the company. This is about him thinking I don't belong." Larson exchanged a glance with Officer Michael Brooks, who nodded slightly. "Step aside, sir," Larson said. "We'll sort this out, but calm down." Marcus's frustration erupted. "I am calm," he said, voice taut. "He's the one escalating this." Larson's hand moved to his radio. "Step away from the building," he repeated, firmer. "Or we'll take you in." Marcus's eyes widened. "For what?" "Depositing a check," he asked. Brooks stepped forward, tense. "Cooperate, or we escalate," he said. "Your call." Marcus felt cornered. He glanced at Richard's smug face, then back at the officers. He knew resistance meant handcuffs, or worse. With a sigh, he raised his hand slightly. "Fine," he said. "I'll move, but this is wrong." Larson pointed to the sidewalk. "Stand there and don't move," he said. Marcus complied, anger burning inside. He'd done nothing, yet was treated like a criminal. Richard grinned. "Thank you, officers," he said. "This should be quick." The officers ignored him, focusing on Marcus. Larson radioed for backup. Brooks watched Marcus closely, expecting trouble. Marcus stood still, fists clenched, mind reeling. The stares of passers-by stung. To them, he was just another troublemaker. They didn't care about the truth. After an eternity, Larson approached again, expression blank. "You're coming with us," he said. Marcus's eyes widened. "Why?" he demanded. "The manager reported you for refusing to leave and causing trouble," Larson said. "We'll sort it at the station." Marcus couldn't believe it. "I did nothing wrong," he protested, voice rising. "This is absurd." Brooks moved behind him. Handcuffs clicked around Marcus's wrists. His heart raced, but he stayed calm. "Let's go," Larson ordered. As they led him to the car, Marcus glared at Richard. The manager's smirk deepened, relishing the moment. "You'll regret this," Marcus said, voice low with fury. Richard shrugged. "We'll see," he replied. The officers pushed Marcus into the car. The door slammed shut. As the car drove off, Marcus's thoughts raced. This fight wasn't over. The ride to the station was silent, tense. Marcus stared out the window, hands cuffed. Richard's smug face haunted him. It was a look he'd seen too often. People expecting his failure, delighting in it. The car reached the station. Officers escorted Marcus inside. Fluorescent lights and a sterile smell made it feel surreal, a world where justice was a mockery. Larson led him to a bench. "Sit here," he said coldly. Marcus sat, mind racing. His wrists ached, but the humiliation hurt more. He watched Larson and Brooks confer with a sergeant, their voices low. Words like fraud and disturbance drifted over, fueling his anger. Richard had spun a tale casting himself as the victim. The police accepted it blindly. Minutes passed. Marcus shifted, frustration mounting. He wanted to shout, demand fairness, but knew it would worsen things. He had to stay smart, calm. Larson returned with a clipboard. "We'll take your statement," he said, flipping pages. "Tell your side." Marcus's jaw tightened. "My side?" he said. "I did nothing. I went to deposit a check, and Richard decided I didn't belong." Larson didn't react. "The manager says you didn't cooperate," he said. "You caused a scene." Marcus's voice rose. "He accused me of fraud," he said. "I defended myself." Larson sighed. "We'll verify the check," he said. "If it's legit, you're free. Follow the process." Marcus's fists clenched. "You're treating me like a criminal on his word alone," he said. "You haven't checked the facts." "We're checking now," Larson said mechanically. He nodded to Brooks, who dialed a number. Marcus breathed deeply, clinging to calm. He hoped verification would end this nightmare. Marcus sat silently, thoughts churning. How many others faced this, accused, demeaned, judged by appearance? He'd worked too hard to be reduced to this. Minutes ticked by. Marcus watched Brooks on the phone, scribbling notes. Each second felt endless. What if they twisted this against him? The fear lingered. The odds stacked high. Brooks hung up, handing Larson the notes. Larson read them, face blank. "The check's legitimate," he said. "The company confirmed payment for your services." Marcus exhaled, relief tempered by anger. "This shouldn't have happened," he said bitterly. "Now what?" Larson nodded to Brooks, who uncuffed Marcus. "You're free," Larson said. "Need a ride?" Marcus stood, rubbing his wrists. "That's it?" he asked. "I just leave?" "The check was real," Larson said. "No charges?" Marcus stared, incredulous. "That doesn't undo what happened," he said. "Richard lied, and you believed him." Larson looked away, silent. No apology came, just indifference. Marcus shook his head. "This isn't done," he muttered, leaving the station. His body felt heavy, but his resolve grew. He wouldn't let this pass. The next day, Marcus sat on his couch, phone in hand. A local article mentioned the incident, but it was brief, shallow. The bank's investigation claim felt hollow. Marcus knew they'd stall, let Richard continue unpunished. That wasn't acceptable. His mind raced. He'd been humiliated, arrested, forced to prove his innocence over a check. This was bigger than him now. It was about stopping Richard, for himself and others. Marcus scrolled his contacts, stopping at Lauren Hayes, an investigative reporter known for tackling racial injustice. They'd met at a community event. She'd offered her card, urging him to call with a story. He dialed without hesitation. The phone rang twice. "Lauren Hayes speaking," she answered briskly. "Hi, Lauren, it's Marcus Bennett," he said. "We met at—" "I remember you," she cut in, her tone warming. "How's it going?" Marcus took a breath, then recounted everything. Richard's accusations, the security ejection, the police, the false detention. Lauren listened, asking few questions. When he finished, her voice was resolute. "Marcus, this story needs to be told," she said. "It's not just a bank error. It's systemic racism, power abuse. I'll bring a crew tomorrow. Are you okay on camera?" Marcus paused briefly. Going public was daunting, but silence was worse. "I'm in," he said. "People need to know." "Good," Lauren replied. "We'll make sure this doesn't fade." The next morning, Marcus stood outside Pacific Trust Bank. A camera crew set up nearby. Lauren briefed him, notebook in hand. The sun reflected off the bank's glass, a stark reminder of his fight. The camera rolled. Marcus spoke, unflinching, detailing Richard's racism, the baseless fraud charge, the police ordeal. He shared the humiliation, the sense of being targeted for his skin. Lauren guided the interview, but Marcus's voice carried the weight. When it ended, she promised it'd air that evening, pushed hard. Marcus left the bank feeling lighter, though the battle was just starting. That night, he watched the news. His story aired in full. Bank footage, neighborhood interviews, his own words. The reaction was swift. Social media exploded, demanding accountability. Hashtags like #justice for Marcus and #fire Harper trended. Other outlets picked it up. By morning, Marcus's phone buzzed with support from friends, family, strangers. Many shared similar experiences. A bank statement stood out. "Pacific Trust Bank condemns discrimination," it read. "We're reviewing the matter and have suspended Richard Harper. We're committed to respect and dignity." Marcus read it twice. It was progress, but not enough. Richard was only suspended. Marcus wanted him gone. He texted Lauren. "Keep pushing," he wrote. "They're stalling." By week's end, the bank issued another statement. "We've terminated Richard Harper's employment," it declared. "We regret the incident and will ensure it never recurs. We apologize to Marcus Bennett and will train staff to prevent discrimination." Marcus absorbed the words. Richard was fired. His scheme backfiring. It was a win, not just for Marcus, but for all who faced such bias. He sat back, satisfaction settling in. He'd fought and won. The news continued, with Lauren's follow-up highlighting the bank's actions and broader racism issues. The story grew beyond Marcus, sparking wider dialogue. He knew more fights lay ahead, but for now, he savored the justice. Marcus stood outside the bank, its glass doors gleaming. The weight of injustice had lifted. He'd returned on his terms. With a breath, he entered. The bank was quiet, unlike the chaotic day he'd first arrived. Eyes followed him. Staff, customers, aware of his story. But he didn't care. This was closure. At the counter, he saw Richard by his desk, packing a cardboard box. His face was pale, defeated. The man who'd loomed over Marcus was now powerless, his career ruined. Marcus approached Sophia, who smiled warmly. "Marcus," she said, apologetic yet kind. "What can I do?" Marcus's gaze drifted to Richard, who noticed him. Richard's hands froze, eyes narrowing. No escaping the truth now. "I'd like to cash my check," Marcus said firmly. "The one I couldn't deposit." Sophia nodded. "Right away," she said, processing it. Marcus faced Richard, who stood frozen. The air crackled with tension. Staff avoided looking. Marcus stepped closer to Richard. "Look at you," he said, voice calm but triumphant. "Keeping busy?" Richard's jaw tightened. "I'm packing," he said flatly. "I'm no longer here." Marcus nodded, eyeing the box. "So I heard," he said. "Accusing people of fraud doesn't end well." Richard's eyes flared, but he stayed composed. "I did my job," he said. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Your job?" he said. "Humiliating me, tossing me out, calling cops? That's your job?" Richard's fists clenched. "I followed protocol," he said. Marcus leaned in, voice a sharp whisper. "You followed your prejudices," he said. "Now you're packing while I cash my check." The words hung heavy. Richard's face twisted in bitterness. Marcus didn't need to shout. Richard's downfall was enough. "I warned you," Marcus added. "This wasn't over. You should have listened." Richard's lips pressed thin. "Think you've won big?" he asked. "Changed anything?" Marcus smiled faintly. "It's about accountability," he said. "And this feels like a win." Sophia returned, handing Marcus the cash and receipt. "Done," she said, her voice soft, but pleased. Marcus pocketed the money. "Thanks, Sophia," he said. He faced Richard one last time, smile gone. "Maybe next time, think before assuming I don't belong. If there's a next time," he said. Marcus turned, head high, and walked out. The sunlight hit him, lifting his spirit. He'd faced his oppressor and won, for himself and others. Weeks later, the uproar had calmed. Media moved on, though support messages trickled in. Marcus sat on his Capitol Hill porch, watching the sunset. He sipped coffee, unwinding. The bank ordeal's weight had eased, but its memory lingered, a reminder of dignity's fragility. His phone showed an article on the bank's new anti-discrimination policies. They'd acted fast, training staff, reviewing processes. Their reputation was bruised, and they scrambled to mend it. To Marcus, it wasn't just policies or apologies. It was deeper. A truth he'd always known, now faced head-on. The world wasn't always just, especially for him. He'd known the barriers, the silent judgments, the assumptions. But now, he felt stronger, surer of his place. He recalled facing Richard in the bank. Men like him, expecting failure, judging by skin, were real. But Marcus had flipped the script, standing firm, keeping his dignity. It hadn't been easy. He'd considered giving up, letting it slide. But he'd pushed on, for himself, for others who felt out of place. It was worth it. Not just Richard's firing, but proving his worth. It wasn't about the check or bank. It was the fight, refusing to be defined by others. Marcus sipped his coffee, warmth spreading. He'd emerged stronger, more certain. Other battles loomed. This wasn't the last time he'd faced doubt. But he knew he could fight back. Always. The sun set. Marcus stood, breeze cooling him. He pocketed his phone, the article fading from thought. Work awaited, but tonight he rested. He'd fought, won, and that was enough.